Is Supreme Leader Snoke secretly the former Jedi Master Sifo-Dyas? Today I present to you an extremely interesting theory which could finally reveal the identity of the infamous Supreme Leader Snoke. So with no time to waste, let's dive into this theory and possibly reveal who Snoke really is. Sifo-Dyas was a powerful Jedi Master of the Council who was also the governing body of the Jedi Order. Sifo-Dyas foreseen a war, so he started advocating for the creation of an army for the Republic. The rest of the Jedi Council deemed his ideas too extreme, so Sifo-Dyas was removed from his position. Despite the Jedi rejecting Sifo-Dyas' plan, he found a way to carry it out without their permission. Sifo-Dyas contacted Kamino, who were known for cloning, and secretly commissioned them to grow a clone army for the Republic, which he pretended was a request of the Galactic Senate. However, the story did not end well for Sifo-Dyas. Count Dooku, then known as the Sith Lord Darth Tyrannus, hired the criminals known as the Pikes to kill Sifo-Dyas. Since the Pikes wanted to gain an advantage over rival crime families, they accepted Tyrannus' offer and shot down Sifo-Dyas' shuttle over Obadiah's moon. So like I just mentioned, Sifo-Dyas' shuttle was shot down by the Pikes, resulting in his supposed death. What happened after his death is the mysterious part though. According to Wikipedia, after inspecting the wreckage, they turned over the Jedi Master's corpse to Tyrannus as proof of their deal fulfilled. In the Clone Wars, which is canon, Plo Koon discovers the shuttle in which Sifo-Dyas had died in, and he discovered Sifo-Dyas' lightsaber. So the implication is that Sifo-Dyas died at Dooku's command, and then his body was brought to Dooku for proof, and that was the end. However, there is a lot more to it than that. We actually had a subtle hint in the Clone Wars that Sifo-Dyas is still out there. After all, I think it would take a lot more than a ship crashing down to kill a Jedi Master, and I also think that Dooku would rather keep Sifo-Dyas as a prisoner than kill him. In the Clone Wars, Yoda sees a vision of what appears to be Sifo-Dyas chained up and trapped. Sifo-Dyas looks like he has been a prisoner for years, just as he would if Dooku had kept him alive for all these years rather than kill him. Sifo-Dyas says to Yoda, "Help me, please free me. Help me please, Yoda. I have been in prison for so long." The vision is soon to be revealed as Darth Sidious playing tricks on Yoda. But is it a coincidence that the vision appearing to be Sifo-Dyas just confirmed what I just said? Sifo-Dyas told Yoda that he'd been imprisoned for so long and that he needs help. And while Sidious is the reason Yoda is seeing this, it doesn't make what Sifo-Dyas is saying any less true. If Dooku kept Sifo-Dyas as a prisoner, he would have told his master Darth Sidious about this, given that Sifo-Dyas would be a useful instrument to use against the Jedi Order. What Yoda saw was the real Sifo-Dyas and the real facts. It was just orchestrated by Sidious to tease that Sifo-Dyas never actually died. After all, we officially know nothing about what happened after the crash of Sifo-Dyas' shuttle other than he was brought to Count Dooku. After years of captivity and physical and mental torture, Sifo-Dyas finally escapes the clutches of the Sith, barely still alive, a different man, a different being altogether. The time that Sifo-Dyas spent in captivity forced him into seeing the Jedi and the Sith for what they truly are, and they now made him identify as neither Sith nor Jedi, just as Snoke does. Sifo-Dyas was hateful, scarred and damaged. Now knowing what the Jedi and Sith truly are, the Jedi rejected his ideas to create a clone army, only to then use his idea after they thought he died, and even then they made no attempt to search for him and rescue him. The Sith tortured him, used him, and almost killed him. Sifo-Dyas left his imprisonment as a different person to the one who was dragged in and chained up. He would now use the dark side and the light with the intention to rule the galaxy not as a Jedi, not as a Sith, not even as Sifo-Dyas, but as Supreme Leader Snoke. Snoke exiles himself, patiently waiting for the opportunity to return, the opportunity to inflict revenge on those who abused him and refused to help him. Snoke waits for many decades in the shadows. He sees the fall of the Jedi, the Republic, and sees the dominating galactic empire take over the galaxy. He even sees the fall of the Empire and realizes that finally, now is his time. As just mentioned, Snoke sees the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire. It's a known fact that Snoke witnessed this. Given the fact that we may have already seen or heard about Snoke since he did witness this, a strong candidate for Snoke's identity is Sifo-Dyas. Not many characters in Star Wars have been mentioned without being shown. Sifo-Dyas appeared in the Clone Wars, but in the movies, not once, despite him being mentioned on many occasions and actually being a very important character without us even seeing him. Also, due to the fact that we never actually saw Sifo-Dyas in the movies, this does not rule out Andy Serkis playing the secret Sifo-Dyas, as no actor has played him before. The Clone Army in the prequels and the Clone Wars were actually commissioned by none other than Sifo-Dyas, despite the Jedi Council disapproving the creation of the army. What's interesting about this, and what connects this perfectly to Snoke, is what Kylo Ren says to General Hux in The Force Awakens. Perhaps Leader Snoke should consider using a clone army, is what Kylo Ren suggests to Hux after Finn betrays the First Order. If Snoke was once Sifo-Dyas, who essentially created the clone army during the Clone Wars, and his apprentice Kylo Ren knows of this, which he likely does, maybe Kylo Ren is being absolutely serious when suggesting a clone army, because he knows that Snoke could actually do it, given he has already done it in the past. Snoke's apprentice is Kylo Ren, but contrary to popular belief, Snoke has had other apprentices in the past. According to Wikipedia, Snoke has had at least one other apprentice. Well, if Snoke is Sifo-Dyas, that would explain who the other apprentices were. They would have been his Jedi apprentices during his time as a Jedi Master. It's very unlikely that Sifo-Dyas would have been a Jedi Master on the Jedi Council without having at least one Padawan learner. This theory, if it were true, would explain everything. It would tell us how Snoke knows everything about anyone and everything, including the Jedi, the Sith, the Dark, the Light, the Clone Wars, and everything in between. Like Kylo Ren says in The Force Awakens, the Supreme Leader is wise. Well, that's because he's extremely old and has experienced both sides of the Force first hand and hates both sides. Hence why Snoke is neither Sith nor Jedi, and possibly why Kylo Ren is neither Sith nor Jedi also. The supposed death of Sifo-Dyas perfectly explains to us why Snoke is deformed to the extent that he is. The crash of his shuttle in itself probably did most of the damage to Snoke. Snoke has scars and burns all over his head and face, which is a classic example of someone who was involved in a burning crash of a ship. However, even after this, according to this theory, Snoke was brought to Count Dooku and the Emperor to then be tortured and abused for years, resulting in even more deformity. Dooku or even Sidious used Force lightning repeatedly on Snoke for information or just for general torture, which has been known to physically deform those inflicted by the lightning, as shown to us by Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. This would connect the Star Wars prequels to the new movies, and furthermore connect Star Wars as a whole together, as Sifo-Dyas appeared in the Clone Wars in addition to being mentioned in Attack of the Clones. It would also be really cool to watch the original trilogy knowing that Snoke, formerly known as Sifo-Dyas, is waiting and watching out for the right time to appear from the shadows. This would also bring a lot more depth to Snoke. Rather than just some unknown being, Snoke would be revealed to be an extremely old former Jedi Master and Council member, who was captured and tortured by the Sith after being rejected by the Order and not saved by them. Could this theory work? Yes. Will this happen? The clues are there, it makes sense, and it'll be a great twist. We're just going to have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this theory and want to show your friends, then be sure to share this video. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions on this. Could this work? Would this happen? Would this be interesting to see? I personally think it really would. I'd really appreciate a huge like on this video if you enjoyed. That extremely helps me out. And as always guys, subscribe to me for more regular Star Wars videos. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.